What's up, boxing fans? This is the Rope-A-Dope Report. I am your host, Chris Carlson. I'm here to do a preview about an upcoming fight coming around the corner. I think it's April 25th. Late April, I know that. April 18th or April 25th. I never did find out exactly when that fight's going to happen. I think it's the 25th against Jermain Taylor versus Carl Froch. Or Froch, I'm sorry, Froch. The last fight I saw of him against Pascal, they kept saying Froth, but it wasn't the British saying it, so I guess it's Carl Froch. Well, let's just get right into this. Okay, I look at Froch. He looks like a banger. I've seen about 4 fights from him. He's 31, so he's a vet. He's obviously hungry. He finally got a title. Calzaghe had been ducking him for years. I don't know why Calzaghe just didn't take care of this guy a while ago if he thought he could beat him. I mean, why not, right? It's not like the guy's 24 years old and, 19-0 and still has something to prove, you know. Anyway, this guy's a banger. He's a brawler. He likes to get in fights, it seems like, as far as the fights I saw him with, especially in the last fight. But he's smart with it to a point. You know, he looks like he can defend himself, even though he gets hit a lot. It looks like he keeps his distance. He's got a long jab, and he loves the brawl. It looks like he loves that style. You got Jermain Taylor, obviously, the guy that keeps you at the end of the jab. You know, he's got really fast hands, not great head movement, not a great, I call him an A-level skill set with a B-level mentality. His mental game is not there where I think Carl Froch, his mental game, he just thinks it's going 12 rounds, it's going to be a brawl, let's get it on, you know. And he's obviously a big trash talker, which at least will add some, some interest to that fight, hopefully, anyway. Anyway, let's get into it. Okay. Jermain Taylor. I've seen him fight a lot of times. Obviously, he was the HBO darling there for a while. He got beat by Pavlik. The first fight, this is what I mean by mental game. He had Pavlik hurt really bad. I mean, really bad. We all saw that. But, he was just going for the big, and then he punched himself out, and by the end of the second round, Pavlik somehow, even with the stutter step, that he was doing, somehow he held enough, got his stuff together, and actually had a nice punch or two before the round ended in the second round. We all know he put him to sleep later, Pavlik put Jermain Taylor to sleep later in that fight in the 7th round in the corner. Pavlik, basic, comes at you, nice long jab, it's this, nice long jab, big right hand, but he's real, coming, miss. You saw Rubio moving a little bit, and he couldn't get square shots on him besides that long jab. He likes to double up that jab, but so he's fundamentally sound offensively because he comes behind a jab, but he doesn't use angles. And that's what I saw from Carl Froch. He can use a little bit more angles. He's a little more smarter as far as not getting hit too. He can move a little bit or at least keep his distance. And then the rematch, you could see Jermain Taylor fought better up at 166. Obviously Pavlik, we saw him against Hopkins, not looking good at a higher weight. And he didn't look as good. I did think Pavlik won it just by maybe 1 round, just because he closed 10th, 11th, and 12th. He closed that fight harder than Taylor. And that's another mentality thing. He hurt Taylor in the 10th or 11th. If he would have had another 30 seconds, I think he would have at least put him down. Anyway, so I got to look at that fight and say, well, that's the only guy to beat Jermain Taylor. How did he do it? Well, he did it in a way I think Carl Froch can do it. Now, Froch has just as much power, more than likely, and he's fought at that weight class. And in his last fight, he fought a great brawl with a cracked rib. Some other things wrong with him. You never know what's wrong with people in fights. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But he was pretty banged up going into that fight. Like I said, he's 31 years old, so this is a huge splash. It'll be here in America. This is a huge splash for him. So I'm going with Carl Froch because I just think it's going to be a great brawl, though, because Jermain Taylor with that long jab, that fast jab, and he does sometime show some movement. You know, you could see in the second fight against Pavlik, he fought better, but then he kind of went into his old way. And once you get him, man, he backs up and he's in that corner and he can't defend himself. He's not a great defensive fighter. He's fun to watch. I like Jermain Taylor. You know, he's fun to watch now, but you know, when he fought Corey Spinks a couple fights there, it was pretty boring to watch him, and I thought he was pretty overrated as a champion once he beat Bernard. I thought he beat Bernard the first time, barely. But I thought it was at least a draw, if not Bernard winning in the part 2. Anyway, I'm going with Carl Froch. I think it'll be a great brawl, though. Another free fight on HBO. Or no, I'm sorry. I think it's Showtime. Anyway, I'm going to have the Pac-Man against Hatton coming up here. I'm actually going to watch this to make sure everything's okay. And then I'm going to film another one. And by tonight, this stuff will be out there. Also, I have another article coming up. I just recently heard Roach talking about Mayweather and how he doesn't want Pacquiao to fight Floyd now because it's going to be boring. I got a little interesting take on that. I think there's a bunch of different ways to look at that. Anyway, I'm going with Carl Froch over Jermain Taylor. Signing off. This is the Rope-A-Dope Report. Man, I'm just stuttering all of a sudden. This is the Rope-A-Dope Report. I am your host, Chris Carlson. Peace.